All right, good morning. Let's call the meeting to order. It's Tuesday, February 9th. We're here for a regular council meeting. We're going to stand for a moment of silence, followed by the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, please.
Mayor Kathy?
Here.
Ms. Call? Here. Mr. Keith?
Here.
Mr. Pollock?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Okay. Moving on with our agenda. Are there any citizens' comments? Yes, sir.
Ron Crease, 422 Colorado Drive. I say I was pleasantly surprised walking down through my neighborhood the other day, and I get to Fifth Street in Georgia, and all that garbage is cleaned up. That trashed RV with the outside shower and water heater is gone. You stand there and you look around now, it's like a different Mexico beach on that one corner. And thank you, I'm sure code had something to do with that. Plus, you got the other ones around there, I know you're working on. The other thing, has anybody walked down the sidewalk yet across from dedicated pizza? Mayor, you usually walk every day.
Yeah, I walked it. I have.
Okay,
Well,
that's what I noticed.
Across, you mean just the improvements?
Yeah, yeah. Sidewalk is great,
Oh, yes.
but when it rains, you're gonna need to bring a kayak with you. As you all know, probably 1/3 of the beach is already on the other side of 98. That sidewalk has spots that are below the surface, like that, on each
That's
side.
gonna get worked on.
Okay,
Next meeting, you'll thank us for that.
okay, thank you.
All right. All right. Any more nice comments? All right, no other citizens' comments. Rock, we thank you for that, for noticing. Moving to department reports. All right, Mario.
Miss Debbie?
Oh,
Hello, good morning. I just wanted to let you know that I'm in April of 2020, so there's 2 more months down. And my hope is that when the auditors finish with their 2018-19 audit, that they can just hit the ground running and start on the 2020 fiscal year. So we'll have a very short lag time between those audits.
Debbie, have you had dialogue with our auditors? I mean, that's a
Because
serious.
most everything that they worked on was dealing with when Keith was here, and but I know the status. I know they're winding things up, and assets were the last thing that they were working on.
And Mayor, along the lines, we received a letter from the state telling us that the deadline had come and gone, and they brought it before their commission, and they've given us an extension through March 30th, 31st.
March 31st, yeah. Just having been involved, what is it that they are lacking? I guess I think we should be, what is it that they can't get done?
One of the things that was holding them up was our assets, the trucks, the equipment, the materials.
Getting the data.
We literally still had on our records computers and radios that have been replaced twice. So we had to call through all of that data. And that just takes a while.
Just to add on, the resolution to that is going to be that one of the tasks that I have is to add all of that information into the software, so then this won't happen again, and they'll have an easier time recording the assets. They had to physically verify that these things were still there or they were gone. And with the hurricane, a lot of things got destroyed. So it'll be easier the next year because it'll
Okay.
be in the system and they won't have any worries about tying it back.
Okay, just the length of time, I'm glad we're on the contract with them, not on an hourly basis. That's another thing. Okay. All right, go ahead. That's all I have as far as Do we have more reports? I mean, as far as financial?
I don't believe.
I don't have anything else, Mario.
No, I think we're good there. I did ask Debbie to look into the budget to see if we had available flexibility within our budgets between water, sewer, sanitation, and the admin side of the world to potentially bring a new person on board. I don't know if all the council members know this, but Skylar was here through an aid through the FEMA program, and she has moved on. She has moved over to Marianna and found a good job there, and it was something that she did proactively. So having lost her, we really need some help at the front desk between Sherry, you know, being able to go to lunch, having sick days and so on, and then also with Lindsay to help, you know, with the council meetings, doing records and things like that. So we do have the space within the budget, and we've never really filled Lindsay's position when Lindsay transferred into the city clerk's position. So if it's okay with council, I'd like to advertise for a person. The pay grade is pay grade 107. It has, I think it starts at about 13 and goes all the way up to 17. We would look to hire someone in that $13, $14 range most likely, depending on, you know, what work experience that the individual has. But if council's okay with that, we have it within our job descriptions, but again, it's an expense, and I wanted to make sure y'all were okay with it. And we do have the funds within those departments. We would charge this person a quarter.
And it's already an approved position within the overall employee
Yes, sir.
count, if I recall right. When we did that.
I believe so.
I'm
And
sure-
we've also not filled a position within the utility department. So that's another position that we've been advertising since Thomas left, but we've had the requirement for them to be licensed. And at this point, if it's okay with y'all, I'd like to open that up to licensed and unlicensed personnel, as we really need the manpower. And we've got 2 individuals within the utilities department that all they have to do is pass their test and they would become licensed. So I'd like to open it up so that we can we need boots on the ground. Just having one person out there alone right now with a 3-person crew is a little awkward. So I'd like to get both of those rolling.
Well,
And
the
again,
2 people we got, how far along and what?
one of them just needs, my understanding is he's done his studying and he just needs to do a little bit of last minute studying and try to take the test.
Well, if they got a license, then we're open to somebody,
Yes, sir.
we need to work on that.
Okay, council comments on the request for hire, or anyone against us doing that?
I'm not against it.
We need somebody in the front desk if I help Nancy and Sherry, that's sure.
So it sounds like you're good to go with that.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Debbie, thank you. If you have any other comments, or she gone?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay.
Do you think we're gonna make the deadline for the audit by the 31st?
Yes, sir.
Debbie?
Debbie, do you think we'll make the auditor's deadline of the 31st?
Oh, yes, yeah, the only thing they had lacking was that capital asset, and according to Wayne, we are on track, so,
Good.
Good deal. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Debbie.
I think.
Sandy?
You usually, nothing new from here, that state grant, I applied for an extension just so that we can, continue with the pole barn, which you'll hear about later. I haven't heard back yet, but I'm hoping to hear back in the next couple of days, we'll just get a 2 or 3 month extension so that we can, use all those funds before our time is up. Other than that, it is basically, everything is running well, we have no issues upstairs, people out, so on and so forth, so, right now everything's good, thank you, sir.
Sandy, I know that you went out and did a quick inspection of all the fire hydrants. Go ahead and give them an update on that.
We did 85 of them yesterday, I believe we had them all painted, and I found 3 that we actually haven't, so, but other than that, We are about to start doing our hydrant testing, which is basically our flow testing, much to Kevin's annoyance, because sometimes it can make people's water go a little bit brown, which happened yesterday, which I apologise for. It's just, if they haven't been flowing for a while, we open them too quickly, there can be a little bit of discoloration in the water. But we should now, in theory, have all of our hydrants, which is about 205 of them, up and running and active. They're having their final inspection. We're doing our flow testing to keep up with our ISO over the next couple of weeks, and that will bring us to one major step forward as far as the city is concerned in its return to pre-hurricane status. But we have the other half to do, which I'll do some today, some tomorrow, for the visual inspection to make sure everything is good and going, and then we'll continue on with the flow test. So that is continuing. It sounds like we've been doing hydrants for a long time, but 205 of them is actually a significant amount. And we have, as you know, had issues with some of them, but we are all but there, and it's a lot of the hard work is thanks to the man behind me, Kevin. He and his team have done a great job in sorting that situation out. So it's a big kudos to him as well. So thank you.
Right after the hurricane, how many hydrants were we down to?
Well, we lost virtually all our hydrants on 98, so north and south of the road. We had a lot of hydrants that were knocked over, still in service in theory, but the issue with them having been knocked off their or pushed to one side is that the washer can be damaged, and then you start flowing water through it, and that compromise can then show in a burst pipe or something. So we were always slow to use those ones unless we really had to. But we were in danger in some respects, but in a lot of places where we lost a lot of the hydrants, we also didn't actually have buildings. But now the buildings are back up and running, it was of paramount importance that we got our hydrant system back to where it was. So we were a little bit behind the 8 ball, we are now ahead of the 8 ball. So.
Okay, any questions? Thank you, Sam. I don't see our police people. We'll pass in. Gina?
We have issued 7 new residential permits since the beginning of the year, so kind of slow right now. That brings us to about 170 since the storm for new residential. Driftwood picked up their building permit this week, so they should be beginning vertical construction here shortly. The Mexico Beach Crossings permit is also ready for them to pick up. The contractor's waiting on some HUD stuff, so it might be a little while before they get going, but their permit is ready as well.
What is that?
That's the St. Joe Apartments.
Oh, okay.
That's really all I have.
Okay. Questions for Bill? Anybody? It's unusual. Public Works. Ken, you doing that? Oh, excuse me. Cody. All right. I jumped the gun. Kathy.
Well, tomorrow will be my 1-year anniversary with the.
All right.
Birthday cake.
Yep. We had some RVs that had been removed. We had about 4 or 5 of them that were gone in about the past 2 weeks. We had another house demoed down over on Mississippi, I believe it's on, somewhere down there. And filled out some citations, which are helping get things moving along. We've got about 3 more to go mailing out today, and I've got about 3 cases that I'm going to be giving to Jim. And that's about it.
What about the house across from the soon-to-be constructing Driftwood, right on the corner?
I sent them a citation last week. She emailed me yesterday. She said they were in contact with the builder. The builder has since left the company and gone to work for Tyndall. She said they were down over the weekend and met with another builder, and they're gonna, about plans to rebuild. And they came down and put a fence around their pool like they were supposed to, and tried to clean up.
All right, questions for Code?
The 2 houses over by me, how's that come in litigation or whatever we do with it? Make a form or you got in contact with him or?
I haven't heard from Jim on those houses. The ones that are with Special Master?
Yes,
Yeah, I haven't heard it.
we heard from,
What about the mobile home by me, the Snellgrove mobile home?
She, has bought that mobile home, the whole lot from her brother, and she's gonna start taking care of things. Said as soon as most of this COVID's lifted, but she said that's what she's gonna be planning on taking that place over and cleaning it up.
Okay. Others? Thank you. Ken, you doing public works?
Yes, sir.
All right.
To address Mr. Rocks about the sidewalk, the first phase, what we call it for the sidewalks, the money that was allocated by FEMA, we pretty much got that part done. I know there's still a lot more that's gotta be repaired out there, and Tommy's actually reached out and got a contact through the Florida Department of Transportation. And he's out right now with COVID, but as soon as he comes back, we're gonna reach out to that contact, get them back over here, and they're gonna go through and address the rest of the sidewalk that needs to be repaired. The first phase part of it, Tommy and David, they walked the whole entire thing, they only knew we had enough money just to do a certain amount. So they addressed the worst of the worst to begin with, and now, you know, with DOT, they'll come back and finish the rest, and with the sand pile, you know, they'll come in and excavate that, get that dressed down, so, you know, that's gonna be, it's coming.
Yeah, sidewalks are nice.
Yes.
That's a big improvement.
Thank you. Yeah, they've done a great job. We kind of, you know, watched it through the process. They've done a wonderful job of getting, like I say, we're gonna get the rest of it, from one end of town to the other. Been working on, the dredge. I know we had some significant damage to the dredge. The snout has been repaired. One spud they're going, Troy's gonna pick up in Panama. There, we got one of them, fabricated over, and the other one, they are actually repaired here in the shop. And well committee today, they should have them back installed, both spuds, and be back operational with the dredge, which putting sand back on the beach for the, beach renourishment, which is, you know, is going well. I mean, they're moving a lot of sand right now, getting the beach looking good. Still grinding stumps, you know, throughout the city, you know, right of way. I'm actually trying to go out ahead of the crew that's doing the stump grinding, and go ahead and make a determination, because they're kind of vague on which, where, you know, the right of ways. Go ahead and mark them with red X's, and then write down a address, nearest address to them, and giving them that list, so they can just kind of keep rolling their stumps. And you ride through town, you can see, I mean, they've probably done, they started there in the park there, 7th Street Park, and done all those down through there, and then they've started on the right of way. But, I mean, it looks really good. I mean, what they've got done, they've probably done over 300 stumps so far. And we still got more to go, but we're gonna try to get those done. The road department, they've been working on road repair projects. I know they got the little dip down here at 36 North, you know, so, you know, Gary Woodham, don't mess his Corvette up, they got that patched. They, presently they're working on a road, stormwater project over in front of 202 Virginia, so replace the culvert pipe there. And they've been working on that ditch down between, where it comes around between 7th Street Park, Wasson in Texas, that main ditch there, and, you know, digging it out, getting it flowing, and then removing all the dirt. So, and, see what else. The boat dock, I noticed, North Florida, they're down here at the canal, doing repairs to the handrails and all the little boat slips down there, boards that were damaged and all that. Got, sheet piles in from the bridge on around to the existing part of the, boat stop down there now, and that project's continuing on. I mean, they gotta come back and, you know, do the rest of it. And if y'all been down the canal, you notice that the new Civic Center is going this way. They got the foundation, looks like they're starting to do the framing for it. So, new Civic, Welcome Center here pretty soon. I mean, that's about it.
Been busy.
Yes, it's been busy.
Questions?
I'd like to, make just a quick comment for Bonebeck. They did a great job on the sidewalks, and I just wanna give them a little public notice that they did a really good job. They worked really fast, they stayed really clean, and they got it done in a hurry, and we appreciate it.
Comments for Public Works or questions? Thank you, Ken.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Well, as you know, we had that 6-inch main break on Highway 98 here last week. The temporary line's been run, it's in operation, all back to East Pass, so nobody's under a boil water notice. Still fixing small leaks everywhere, changing meters, normal day-to-day business. And I've been up with contractor stuff on the hydrants, like the chief said, we got pretty much all that knocked out. And also, I got with Duke Energy on Canal Parkway. Or them, don't hold me to it. Should have power at the canal by end of the month. This month. So we'll see. I got my fingers crossed.
When you say power, are you talking to just, you talking about the marine?
Power all the way down, yes, sir, on those lots that don't have.
Oh, even on Canal
Or
Park?
we can get power to that little grinder station there to get it operational.
South of Salt Creek. Yes.
Yeah.
But
Questions for utilities? Thank you, Kevin. All right, Mr. Dewberry, what you got, David?
Yes, sir. The landscaping, we've got contractors selected, we're pending the DOT permit, hopefully we'll have that here shortly. I reached out to them this morning to ask them when we be expecting that, so hopefully here, getting the end of the week, we should be able to get rolling, get started on it.
I saw Pam answered our question about the money.
Which,
The email from Pam Minor
yes, sir.
about the two, at the end of the 2 years is when they'll pay.
Yes. And then the
That's
boat
one
launch.
way to control it.
The boat launch expansion, the two permits, the Corps of Engineer permit and the Waterman District permit have been submitted. So give them probably, 3-4 weeks, hopefully we'll get those back and have that design. And then next step will be get with Mario and submit for the additional money for the construction.
Okay, this is being recorded. You said 2 or 3 weeks for the core permit.
Well, the good thing is, the good thing is, it's a man-made obstruction and it's already been permitted, so it's not
I understand.
it's not a full review.
Our canal's been that way for 62 years, so I can tell you that. But I'll pull it for you.
Okay.
Okay. That's all you got?
That's all I have right now. Next meeting, we'll probably bring Sunset Park back on the list. I think we're making headway on that, so we'll get reports of progress.
Questions for Dewberry?
Okay.
All right, thank you, sir. Ryan, what you got?
Couple things moving through. Let me go back around. At the top of the list, still waiting on that wastewater collection system project to get obligated. I did talk to FEMA about that. They said that the bigger projects that are over $1 million, they're just moving a little slower, I think because they've lost some staff over there recently. So they're saying that, I know I've been saying to you guys, we're hopefully next time we'll get it through. I'm still hoping next time, but I'm not crossing my fingers, but not, counting my chickens before they hatch on that one, going forward. But it's there in the final review, and we don't see any reason why it wouldn't get approved. It's just, gotta get obligated. They're trying to get through the administrative stuff. Good news on the substantial damage estimate project. It's now moved into the state's queue, which really means that they're just kind of trying to do the administrative stuff to get it officially obligated, which normally doesn't take that much time, but we just happened to get caught at the time of this meeting, that they're still doing their administrative stuff. So hopefully that one should be obligated in the next week or so here, and then we can start drawing down on that. The demolition of TPDR projects, they have moved forward to environmental and historic review under FEMA, which is good. I know we talked about those last time, and FEMA has said they'll keep moving them through. And those 2 properties that we still want to do, they're just made a note that those are contingent on us getting the last time extension, but they'll keep moving the rest of the properties through the system so we can get those, essentially reimbursed, to work on those. So that's good news. There's still a couple more stages to move through for both of those projects, but, they are moving, which is good news.
Ryan, I'd like to bump in and say,
Yeah.
on all three of these projects, the city has been paying for all this work, and when FEMA comes through, it's a reimbursement for these dollars. So, again, 1.4, 400,000, and PPDR is another 400,000. So again, the city is out there ahead of these payments, and the process for getting reimbursed is just painful.
Before I forget, how many
Yeah.
projects do we have on the demolition?
How many properties?
Properties.
I think it's 26 off the top of my head, plus the other two. It might be 26 or 28, I can't remember. It's one of those two even numbers at the end, the 20s.
And those are all gone, buildings that are gone. There's just two more left that we got.
But they won't pay us till we do them all.
That is correct. It's part of the payment.
Can I ask where these two are at? The two that were like?
One is off of 36th Street and Water Street, which is the house that moved off of one property onto another property. And the other one is on 37th, and it's one of 4 townhomes, which complicates it because when you tear down one townhome, you have the potential to hit the others, and that's part of what's complicated the whole system. It's nothing simple in here.
It isn't, that in court too, one of those bills?
Oh, yeah, the townhomes, one's in probate, one's in a lawsuit, and the other one just doesn't have any money. So, and again, on the other 3, they weren't primary homes. This is the only one that's a primary home, which is why we're capable to tear it down because of that.
All right, moving on, Ryan.
Yep, next, we did get the jetty project cost, submitted to FEMA from the contractor MRD. We've got that into basically now the first stage of the FEMA queue, which is, means they're now doing their review, and we'll start the conversation about, what are we submitting versus, what are the things that they think are eligible, and kind of having that whole discussion. Initial review from FEMA said that they said this is looking good. We're gonna have some questions probably, but they were pretty happy with it, so that's positive. The pier, we've got the cost estimate down and have submitted that to FEMA. We're still working with the contractor to kind of finalize some of the conceptual design stuff, but we've got basically part of this, I guess I would say part of it submitted to FEMA so they can kind of do a preliminary review on it and make sure we're on the right track. And then we're still working. We just had a meeting yesterday on the pier to try to get the second part of that through. Yep.
Mayor, one of the points that I know you guys would be interested in, the old pier was 860 feet. If we put the new pier 860 feet from the same starting point, we're only in 7 feet of water. The old pier was at 9 feet of water. So one of the things that we're pushing aggressively on is saying that the design of the pier requires 9 feet of water. So please allow us sufficient length or the ability to slide the pier towards the water so that we can get out to at least 9 feet of water. The original pier that was built in 1966 actually went all the way out to 12 feet of water. Can't go after that. All we can go after is what did the pier have pre-storm. But we will go after the further extension through CDBG.
Yep.
Is there pushback on that about the 9 feet? Or are we just
That-
broaching that with him now?
We're just now
That's what
broaching.
we're just getting into.
How many more feet would it take to do that? Do we know?
About 300 feet.
300 more feet?
Yeah. Again, those sandbars shifted so much out there that that's part of what's hurting us. It's not just a length thing, it's the contours out there. We're hopeful that a combination of sliding the pier a little further out towards the water, maybe 150 feet, might get us to where we need to be. But again, it's work in progress.
And the sand could shift and make it lower again at some point.
We're deeper.
That's what I mean, deeper.
Yeah. Yep, so that's where we're at with the pier. Police, fire, civic, we're also very close to getting something ready to submit to FEMA. Still working with the architect to try to get that cost estimate and conceptual design finalized, but we've got a meeting with them later today on that, and I'm hoping we'll get some sort of finalization news from them so we can start getting that submitted as well. So good news, I guess, on those three big projects that we've got here, kind of coming at the tail end. That we're starting to get them into the FEMA review queue, which means that we'll open up those discussions and hopefully start getting those moved through to obligation as well. Final note, final note on the bullet points. The dredge project, which we got maybe 2 months ago, we got a $6 million advance on. Now we've made those payments, and before the state is willing to give us a second advance on it, they wanted to make sure that they went through and validated all of the first $6 million, which means going through ticket by ticket, checking off that everything looks good. They have given me an update that they've gone through and validated 5 million of the first 6 million. They're not seeing any issues so far, so they're just trying to get that last million validated. Once that happens, that will open us up to now ask for another advance for the remaining part of that project, and we can then hopefully, I know you guys have all been trying to get that money so that we can pay out the last bit of that work that we've done. So we're nearing, I guess, 5 million out of 6 million. I know $1 million seems like a lot left, but that's better than we were 2 months ago. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks they'll have that last million validated, and we'll be able to ask for that next advance amount.
Ryan, on the next phase of the dredging, I know that we had a meeting a couple weeks back where we were arguing the difference between 10,000 cubic yards and 23,000 cubic yards. Everybody has agreed to the 23. When will we get our final paperwork that is the confirmed number so that we can put out RFQ to get the balance of the work done?
Yeah, that project, so this is separate from the one I was just talking about. Kind of the second dredge is kind of what I would think, or I've been calling it, which is the work that hasn't been completed on the dredge. That one is in the that would just move forward to the environmental historic review on the FEMA side, which means we've still got 2 or 3 more stages before it gets obligated. But the good news on that one is that it's moved through the CRC review, which is the part that they're really getting into sort of the questions about quantities that you were referring to, Mario. So they basically said, okay, we get your quantities, and now they're just having to kind of go through and do these other reviews like environmental to make sure that what we're proposing isn't violating any of those rules or regulations. So I think
we just dredged.
Yeah, they still have to go through it.
that? We're gonna dredge the same body of water, and you're saying they're gonna do an environmental impact study?
No, they're not doing an environmental impact statement.
Oh.
They're basically just reviewing like the stuff that we've
That
essentially
they've
shown
already-
them, that we've already given them. They're now having to go back through and just basically check their boxes on
Well,
that.
Ryan, who's gonna write that scope of work
For
for the
the
23,000?
Dewberry.
Dewberry writes the scope?
yeah, I mean, it's
Now that we've actually done the soundings and have sections through everything, we should actually be able to do it the way that FEMA wants us, which is to truly.
Well, that was part of the conversation. I wanna bring this up just while we're talking about, to make sure that the part about where the spoil sites are has gotta be part of the scope of work.
Mhm.
right. Yeah,
So we write it and they approve it? Is that how that works? Or they write it? I understood that. I thought they were going to tell us what the scope of work was.
well, they were telling us that like we were working with them to figure out the quantities, but they're not gonna.
Well, we
Tell
figured
us.
that out.
Yeah, right. Well,
That's old news.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm saying they're not gonna tell us where we need to put the spoil site or anything like that. Like we would still.
Oh, but who's gonna pay for the spoils?
Oh, that we should be included in there. Yeah.
That's covered in the cost.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
But it's gotta be
It's-
written
it's
into
part of
what
our-
they approve. Now, I'm telling you, that's a big cost.
Yeah.
We have had that as part of our conversations throughout all the FEMA meetings.
Okay, so nothing's gonna happen until it finishes the review process? No, we aren't gonna get,
Back on the first one you're talking about now?
no, the first one is, we've done that, we're paying for it. I'm talking about the one that we've been arguing about for close to 10 months.
Yeah,
No, 15 months.
yeah. Well, I guess this is an
The
open question.
23,000 cubic yards of additional dredging that they approved,
Yep.
you brought that up as the second dredging
Yeah.
project. I'm trying to figure out, what are the steps?
I need to release Dewberry to do the work, so I need to get a task order from Dewberry to put the construction documents together now that we've gone through this much approval. Get them to put drawings together or specifications on how to do it and then bid the project out.
Yeah.
Prior to obligation? Will we do that
We-
prior to obligation?
I think we could do that with minimal risk. I don't know how much the design will cost, but again, we're moving towards the direction of approval. I think the cost to kick off the design is probably okay for us to push that ahead. I wouldn't want to put it out to bid until we know that we've got something that's gonna get obligated. But that should be within.
Okay. Well, let's don't lose sight of that.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, make that part of, put that on the project list so we look at it every time.
Okay. Yeah. Then moving down, just kind of the big picture overview. We're up to now 88 million in terms of obligated amount, which is good. We're moving forward. You know, I think we should be able to still on target to hit that 100 million that we've been aiming for based on these last projects that we've got coming through. And you know, we'll keep pushing all of these projects when things like the wastewater collection system get obligated again. That'll push it up even more, and we'll keep getting closer to that target. Final thing on is the NRCS project. We got the last reimbursement request submitted for that to NRCS, so now all of the work that we've done for that has been submitted. We've gotten a good chunk of it already reimbursed, and basically our last request for reimbursement is now sitting with NRCS. And I think, Mari, I don't ever see when that comes in, but they've been taking about a month or two to get those through. Is that right?
Right at a month.
Right at a month. So hopefully that last bit is going to come through, and then we'll be basically finished with that project and just closed out, and work will be done, and you guys will be fully reimbursed on that, which would be great. So that's all my updates.
Okay, question,
Anything?
Brad?
Is there any way we can get a sheet with all these, abbreviations on there so we know who they are and what that is?
Like the NRCS and stuff.
I mean, yeah, there's like a ton of them.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time keeping up with which one's which.
I hear you. That is always
I mean, just as a handout that I can keep in my truck.
yeah. Then you'll know them all. There.
There you go. Well, I mean, it helps you to know what I'm looking at.
Yep. I hear you. Yeah. Anything about how I can do that?
And,
Try to use them less too when.
well, no, I don't mind you using them. I just need to know kind of what they are. And if I have a sheet, I can put it in, you know, I'll know. And then as far as the obligated and the paid, that's $34 million, a long ways away. Do we have any idea when they're gonna pay that? Or is
Yeah,
that
so
come under your?
Well, the paid, of course, is always going to fall further behind the obligated, right? They're going to obligate the project, and then they have to go through and do all the things like I was talking about with the validation on the work and all that kind of stuff. You know, I'm hoping here in the next month or two, we're going to see the number jump up, you know, another 5-10 million on the paid amount, just because we'll get the advances on things like the dredge, and some of these other projects. But they're always going to kind of, like, the obligated's always going to push up a little, and then the paid will kind of push up behind it. So it'll be a little while before that paid amount catches up to.
Some of that work has not been completed, so
Yeah.
like right now, the marina's obligated for $3.1 million, but they've only
They
done
haven't done that.
$700,000 worth of work, so, and with the marina project, one of the good things there is it is a 428 project, so we're actually getting advances on a quarterly type basis. So at some point within the marina, we shouldn't always be in the rears for payments for the marina. For projects like Sunset Park, that's a PA, which means that we have to pay it in advance, and then we get reimbursed for it, so again, but the monies for the parks is obligated, but it's a different program. The 428, we get tranches of money that pay us ahead. With PA, we have to pay in the rear, so again, it's nothing simple about it, it's just complicated on how we get paid. And we have received money for other projects like, I think the sand bypass, we have $200,000 or $300,000 that was paid for the sand bypass, that we've used those monies to keep these projects moving forward. And at the end of the day, the sand bypass we will use for something completely different. We will not rebuild the sand bypass. We will probably do something like purchase a new dredge and or expand another project.
It's not simple.
Lots of moving parts.
Any questions for Ryan? Thank you, Ryan. Okay, moving on to our regular agenda items. Number one is, the first one is the replat on 2703, combination of two lots. We will have a public hearing for those that may be here. I think just what's on our papers somewhat self-explanatory, unless, or you need to add anything to that.
No, this one's fairly simple, it's just combining two lots.
All right, public hearing is open. Is there anyone here to speak or has a comment on, 2703 Highway 98?
Mayor, I'm just here representing the owners,
Okay,
and just, hoping that everything will go well.
okay,
All the paperwork's been submitted.
okay. For the record, your name, please, just.
Yes, Glenn Scotty, A3 Engineering and Place Construction and Development.
You get that name?
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Dean.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Okay, is there are there any official comments before we close the hearing? We'll close the hearing. The request is straightforward. Is there any comments from the council or questions? Chair will entertain a motion.
So do we have to read it? You want a motion to read it, or what?
Approval.
Approval of this.
No, there's no
Okay.
resolution, it's just a request for accommodation.
I make a motion that we approve the replat at 2703 Highway 98, A and B.
Have a motion on the floor, is there a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call the roll, please.
Mayor Kathy?
Yes.
Ms. Call?
Yes.
Mr. Keith?
Yes.
Mr. Pollock?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Okay. Also, number 2, under our agenda, request to combine two lots at 220 Florida Avenue. Mario, again, are there anything you need to add before we do the public hearing?
No, sir, similar scenario, these are relatively large lots and will become a very large lot.
All right, well, open, is there anyone here to speak on 220 Florida Avenue? Nope. All right, we'll close the public hearing, we'll move to discussion and questions, comments on motion.
This was his original lot.
He's got
Right.
a ditch running through it, and so they sort of had, I mean, they had to. Something special.
I think lot one had been divided into two pieces, now it's just gonna go back to lot one within the original plan.
Correct. That's the way it looks that they're doing.
Be a nice lot.
Ditch runs, that ditch runs out. I think this is already given where they can work around that ditch. My opinion, what I looked at. Would you ready? I make a motion, we approve the replat of 220 Florida Avenue.
Okay, we have a motion, second. We have a second. Are there any questions, comments? Call the roll, please.
Mayor Kathy?
Yes.
Ms. Cole? Yes. Mr. Key?
Yes.
Mr. Follett?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Number 3 is a zoning change request from high density in the town, to townhouse district. We'll open the public question. Mario, is there any?
I do need to speak up on this. This is a zoning change and it has to be done by ordinance. So this is more just to get everybody up to speed. When we did the townhome district, we had set, one of our guidelines was that the lot had to be less than a certain size. This was a 30-foot lot on the property appraiser's website. What we didn't know was that it was actually 2 15-foot wide lots that was showing up as one lot because of one owner. Because it is 2 different lots, it really should have been within the townhomes, but we didn't catch it. Nobody ever spoke up. So now after the fact, we need to, if the owner would like, he's asked to change his zoning from what he was to townhome. But in order to do that, we have to go through a whole process. So it'll require an ordinance and posting and all those fun things. But I just wanted to bring y'all up to speed. And if you're in disagreement, we can circumvent the whole process. But if you're in agreement, we'll start the process to do a zoning change. Nothing simple about it.
We can't circumvent that process when it's platted that way? Or I mean, when it's,
Well, the plating wouldn't affect it, it's the zoning, so.
I mean, the zoning, I'm sorry.
It's just a strict state requirement of rezoning by ordinance. We also need to make sure the signs are posted, which is a requirement of our land development code. But it'll be similar to the previous lots, so don't see it as being controversial, just.
Just time, just go through the whole,
Yes, and it made this agenda, I'm guessing, because it was on that same list of items that the P and Z board looked at last week, but those steps haven't occurred.
almost sounds like a scrivener's area where you just.
Keep him out.
But anyway, okay, so this are there objections moving forward with the process to change that townhome district zone? Okay, then we'll start the process. And I guess that's really what you,
That's
what you need.
There's no,
Okay, so there's no action for the record other than that the council approves of starting the process for the record, okay. All right, number 4, I'll return that, I guess that's, you handle that.
Yes, sir. The fire department is still working through the funds that were provided to them through the hurricane, and this is an opportunity to basically provide housing for their fire truck since they've displaced housing for the fire truck within this building. So they have sufficient funds to build a metal building and concrete slab. We received 3 bids. Our low bid is Tool Time. We'd like to award the contract to Tool Time. They've got some issues that they're working through within the building department. If they can work through those issues within the next 2 weeks, we'd like to solidify that contract with them. If they cannot work out their issues through the building department, then we would hope that the council would also give us the authority to give the project to BGN contractors if Tool Time falls through.
What are the problems they're working through?
They did not call for permits, they did not have inspections, and they did not close out permits.
And a bunch of them.
And there's 16,
Yeah.
16.
16. Really?
Where is this going? Where are the buildings?
Back here in the yard, pole barn that is large enough to house equipment.
And where are those funds coming from?
This is the funds that came through the state to help the fire department. These are the last of those funds, and this is where Sandy has reached out to the state to give us a little bit of additional time to expend those funds. If we don't expend them, then it stays with us.
What is that? Is that X? Or shaded X? Of course, it's not gonna be it's not, nothing from FEMA, right?
No, this is not FEMA, these are state funds, right, Sandy?
Yes, sir. It's part of that $296,000 that the fire department was given to basically retrofit the fire station. And the idea behind it is the fact that we have taken over some public works storage facility here by housing our equipment here. This is going to enable us to house some of our equipment there and some of public works equipment back underneath a roof, protecting it from the fire, sun, so on and so forth. So it's a case of we are replacing what we lost and what we have taken from public works with this pole barn back there by the $1 million water tank, back up against the fence between here and what used to be the storage facility behind us. And it will be able to be used obviously by us and by public works, but we're still housed here. But the advantage will be going forward, it will also then be an extra housing area for public works and utilities when and if the funds are made available to move fire, police and civic across the bit. So it was funds that we had left over due to not spending as much upstairs as we initially thought we would, and we thought it was a good way of expanding these funds for the use of for the whole city, not just the fire department.
And this is totally closed.
No,
This
actually,
is
the whole
strictly a
bunch of
roof and a slab underneath the roof.
and a 6-inch slab underneath, so even the sanitation trucks will be able to be parked on this and be worked on and so on and so forth, so they won't have to bring them into this building here, you know, in the middle of summer when they smell extremely pleasant, or unpleasant as the case may be. So it's an area that isn't used much for other than parking vehicles, and it will be, I believe, and so does Public Works and Water Department, a useful addition to the whole yard system that we have here.
Well, after you move, it can be utilized for
Yes.
enclosed or whatever, if needed to.
If needed to, yes.
And it's not, and in theory, it's not going to cost the city a penny because it's all paid for by the state.
It'd be awesome to put those sewer pumps we got spares under something instead of sitting out in the sun. We got a $70-some thousand jetter out there get destroyed because of the sun. Which will be backed up under one corner of that and get it out of that sun.
And the other thing is, we were also thinking about putting that rather large, nice big trailer that we have under one corner of it, so again, it's out of the sun, and anything else that's inside it is somewhat protected as well. And it'll help us tidy up that whole end of the public works yard.
What size is it?
60 by 30.
What is the E height?
12 feet.
Wait.
Are they doing that with 6x6s, 8x8s, or whatever?
8 by 8.
What do you see?
Exhibit A, 2 times, I was suspected to get that sheet there.
I called myself looking for, I asked a question.
This sheet is needs to be.
End of one?
Next thing, Dr. Wishel.
I don't think it's in there, as long as he got to read that, not that.
That's the slab here, the specific.
Oh, okay. I'll roll past that. Okay.
Concrete is what, even though it is 6 inches, it's been a while for me, but that's a lot of money.
We reached out to Dewberry and said, well, what do we need to do to enable us to be able to park these vehicles? And that was the engineering spec that came back with, so that's basically what we went out to bid on. You know, we've got the the gravel underneath, compacted gravel and then 6 inches of concrete on top, we should be able to park a tank whenever we need one. But then you also have to realise that the fire truck outside is 1,000 gallons of water.
Oh, yeah.
And a gallon of water weighs 8.23 pounds, I believe. So that's a heavy piece of equipment parked out there. Should we need to put it out there.
And this is all paid for.
This is all within the monies that we still have, in the city's accounts from that state, from the 296,000 and change.
Okay, thank you.
And since we do have a resolution in the package, I'm working on a hand revision of it. If you're interested in going along with the staff recommendation, I'll read that for you before we approve it. We'll just rely on this hand change form.
All right, is there, if there's no other questions, is there further discussion and or motion?
Make a motion to read resolution 2107 by title only.
All right, Nick, please do so.
I'm going to read the complete resolution in a moment since I'm adding some conditions to it. I need about 30 seconds.
Okay. I'm curious, just, when did those discrepancies come up with tool time? Gina / Mario, about, did that just something that just recently came to light? No?
It's been going on,
Okay, it has been,
yeah.
and they know about it?
They do know.
Or have known about it?
I don't know how long they have known about it. Like I said, it was, they didn't call in their inspection, so, they didn't know about it because they didn't call it in. So, it's been a recent development that they've been aware of it and has been doing some things to try to fix it. It has not been resolved.
Okay.
On the last 2 or 3 though, had they done it on the last couple of pole barns they've done?
I'm not sure.
I know down the road, they did call William to come and inspect the pole. And I think he did come inspect, I don't know what else was involved in it, so.
Yeah.
But I know he did inspect this job, I think.
Yeah. They have made some efforts to try to resolve some of their issues, but they haven't resolved any of them yet.
Maybe this, maybe somebody get in contact with them.
Okay, the title, Resolution 2107, a resolution of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, approving a proposal from Tool Time Buildings for a fire station pole barn set up to include a concrete slab in the amount of $33,370. And I'm going to read the first paragraph as well, because that's where we've made these revisions. Be it resolved that the appropriate officers of the city are authorized to approve that certain purchase from Tool Time Buildings for a fire station pole barn set up to include a concrete slab in the amount of $33,370 contained in Exhibit A, contingent on properly closing out open permits on substantially completed projects within 14 calendar days. If Tool Time is unable to do this, the officers of the city are authorized to approve and proceed with the proposal from BGN Contractor for $35,875.
Is that second amount covered?
Yes, sir.
Okay, is there a second to the motion?
I second.
Thank you. Call the roll, please.
Mayor Kathy?
Yes.
Ms. Call? Yes. Mr. Key?
Yes.
Mr. Pollock?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Thank you. And next is, Resolution 2108. Do we have a motion to read by title only?
Make a motion to read resolution 21-08 by title only.
Next.
Have a motion and a second, please read.
A resolution of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, approving an amendment to Atkins Professional Services Agreement with the city, resulting in a decrease of 10% in all contract rates included in attachment B.
Discussion, comments?
I had a couple of comments, let's see. Wrote them in the other version. The 10%, yes, is Ryan gonna talk to this? They came up with 10%, I can't seem to find my other notes. As a reduction because of the COVID, correct?
It's, yeah, part of our discussion.
That's the travel time primarily and expenses and, all right, but that only happens from 2021 forward. They're not going back and giving us.
It's kind of hard to go backwards into their finance and their audits and all those things. If we brought it up earlier, we might have been able to do it earlier, but it, no, sir. And keep in mind, they're still performing the same job. We didn't know that this thing would be going this long. It's kind of easy to.
Well, I mean, if they've got it down to like a 10% reduction, I mean, because they haven't been traveling for well over a year. I mean, and if it's a matter of 10%, it just seems like, you know, I appreciate them giving us the 10%. They should have given us the 10% for all of 2020, which is my point. And also, we got, data manager, data entry people in here on this form now at 75, and the last figures I saw from you, they were at 130. And that's way more than 10%, so are we always checking to make sure that their data entry people are billed out what they do, or, I mean, that's a big discrepancy.
Isn't this attachment B supposed to be the
This
same
was
that we
the
use in our
original,
contract?
this is the original attachment B.
Right.
This does not show 10%. We're taking 10% off of this number.
This attachment B also refers to. no
So 10%
compensation.
comes off this.
Right. And
Okay,
But this isn't part of, this attachment B is really just so you can reference what the original
Okay.
fee structure was.
Well, my point though is the forms that Mario showed me a couple of weeks ago or whenever it was, there was 2 data entry people on there at $130 an hour. And if they're originally only supposed to have been $75 an hour, that's a, why was that?
That one, Ryan, you could probably help me on. I don't have one of the old payouts on here, so I'd have to look at the old payout and compare it to this.
Yeah, I guess the only thing I would say is, I mean, if we weren't billing in accordance with where our rates were contractually, then that would be an error, but I don't know what the specific case was.
Okay, so my question is, how, do we check that, Mario, to make sure that their rates are right every time they give us a bill, or we just pay the bill?
I will have to circle back and check on it to compare it to this.
Okay. Well, that's like,
And it's not just data
that's
entry. there's-
$55 an hour difference. And there was 2 of them.
There's a data manager down here at 110 that I'm not looking at the old payout to compare it. I don't know which one.
Well, I specifically called it out last time as a data entry and thinking that a data entry person at $130 an hour was a lot of money. But data entry, what is that, Ryan? Is somebody sitting there putting it in a computer off of one form or doing paperwork? What is that?
Yeah, I think that's probably typically what it would be, something like that.
Somebody sitting there putting it in a computer so that it's,
Yeah, I mean, I think we've done also like the debris work when we're doing monitoring there. It's like the person who's like, you know, entering the weights on the scales and that sort of
Okay.
thing too.
so you're gonna check, find out why that was 130? And if we find out that that was a mistake, then that should throw a red flag that we probably need to check other stuff, don't you think?
Most certainly.
Okay. Can't find another note, I think that was it.
Maureen, when did travel really slow down? Was it maybe March? It wasn't the entire 2020 year.
It would have been, put it this way, I think I remember mentioning to Alyssa right in the March timeframe doesn't make a whole lot of sense for people traveling from larger states into our smaller region and exposing Mexico Beach. So I think that was about the timeframe. I think you might have come
Wasn't on.
a little, yeah, you weren't on at the time. And that was about the time that Rodney was here every day, month in, month out. That was about the time frame that Rodney made 2 trips here during COVID, and then he phased out. And then that's when Ryan came on board. So.
Well, if they feel, and I'm sure they do feel, that 10% reduction is a fair amount, and they are data analysts and engineers, then it ought to be fairly easy to say, well, you know, they weren't using, I mean, they got a lot of extra money. That ought to be fairly easy. They've broken it down instead of giving us a breakdown on everything and just said, we're gonna reduce everything by 10%. They ought to be able to go back and reduce, since they started doing that, and say, we owe you a reimbursement, and I don't care if it's, you know, just take it off the back end or something. I mean, I think that would be fair. You don't think that would be fair, Mario?
It took me several weeks to get to where we are.
Well, and,
Yeah,
you
and
know,
that's where
I'm
it
just
is.
saying, I think that's a valid question, though. At least it is to me. Maybe I'm the only one that thinks that that's valid.
Believe me, I started trying to get back into it last year and didn't make a whole lot of head.
Okay?
That's a fair point about fairness, but the contract says what the contract says. So at this point, we're locked in a contract with the higher rates for the entire duration. So it's hard to come back to them and say, no, we won't pay a certain amount.
Could we, I see what you're saying, but I'm like Al, I mean, I think that, anyway, overcharged, but still, can we go from this day forward and with this list we got here, whatever they bill us for, maybe we could understand it a little bit better, and just, that way we'll know how much data. I didn't know we had this, I thought really and truly this was for the AC disaster consultant instead of Atkins.
This is for Atkins and AC disaster. This is the entire contract for management of the hurricane.
And because this is, with this rate we have here, is that for Atkins itself, Mario, or is that for the AC disaster?
It is for both.
Both. So really when we Atkins is, and AC consultant serves to fund Atkins.
Correct.
And I'm like, now, I mean, if you don't mind, Ryan, for me, when you send us a bill, could you, since we don't know now what it really is, and put on there, I really didn't know, but that show you how much I know, but all these people on here, I haven't ever seen none of them. Ryan?
Sorry, what are you asking, Jerry?
I apologize. The invoices are broken out by individual, and it does have their position adjacent to their names, along with the others.
It has the name of the person that does did the job.
Yes, sir.
And how much in this grant management specialist, all that, we do have that?
Yes, sir.
I ain't seen that, and I seen the bill.
You don't see the invoice.
Well, could we put that in there?
Most certainly.
Hey, so just to clarify again, were you finished, Jerry? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, yes,
So the top, we'll just take the project executive at 220, so now he's $22 less than 220. Or are these the 10% adjustment?
This is the original dollar figure, and we're gonna go down 10% from what these numbers
So we're
are.
gonna take off 10% of everything down this list for our new rates.
That is correct.
Okay. Can I put in, are you through?
I'm
The
through.
$3 million, the $6 million in 3 years, which would be $2 million a year. On the last page, that, are we gonna, is that what we think we're gonna pay them, or is that what we're gonna pay them, or? Total compensation for later rate shall not exceed $6 million.
Again, this is an assumption that they made back in January or February of 2019 of what the storm would be based on $100 million worth of cost and them having some compensation at 5%. So this was an estimate. This is part of a document that started off in 2019. Everybody that did this project was doing a similar exercise. Nobody knew what this storm was really gonna be like until they got the contract and got on board.
What would occur if the $6 million ends up being insufficient? We would do another contract amendment to increase that number. I'm not really sure right now where we are in that progress, but that's not part of this current amendment.
I think that's my question, Nick,
If it really needs to be 7 million, we'll come back later and
I'm looking
have
for
an
3
amendment to
million.
change that number.
See, I'm looking for something else, and I know we gotta do what we gotta do. Okay.
So at the end of this year, we could be in the jam for a whole lot more money. How much of this money right here comes out of FEMA reimbursed and other reimbursed, and how much do we match?
The whole potential of this is that this is FEMA money that gets reimbursed.
Okay.
So all of this money gets reimbursed by FEMA.
We don't have match.
Unless they go over the 5%, then we would start to get involved.
And the state's holding money now, Marty?
The state has put a freeze on anything over the 50%, so they've frozen above the 50%, which is why we had this discussion 2 meetings ago or so.
We can't get our money back into the state releases the money.
That is correct. That's the way the process works.
So Ryan, what's your estimation? Do you think we're gonna need more time than the 3 years? Based on what you're seeing, based on how things have gone so far?
It's a good question, but my bet is probably, but it's, I mean, we're getting to the, I guess I'll say it this way, it's that, you know, we're getting to these last couple of projects like the pier, police fire and all, that we're trying to get into the system now and get them obligated. We have to close the projects out at the end. I think it would probably time-wise exceed past the 3 years. But the other thing I guess I would add is that our overall, like, monthly bill amount has been steadily decreasing. Like, we just need less people to keep it going. So I think even though, you know, at the beginning of the disaster when it was crazy, you know, you get higher bills because you have to have a lot more people trying to react to it. And as we have less and less people, a need for less and less people to work on the project, then sort of it almost is like one of those infinity curves that as we approach it, we hopefully will, you know, hit that dollar value.
And I understand that as projects are going, you got more manpower because there's more keeping up with the project as it's underway.
Yeah.
So roughly, when we first started, we had probably how many people working on it? Just a ballpark. 20?
I don't know 100%, but I think it was probably like 20, 25 people.
Okay, and so now we got roughly a ballpark of working on stuff?
We probably,
Typically-
I'd say 5 or 6.
Okay, so that's a substantial improvement, which should explain why the bills are going down. Okay, my question is also this, you had mentioned in one of our discussions that if we were wanting to do this ourselves, that it was not impossible for you to understand that somebody could do this. If we get down to the very end, instead of having to do another contract, you said you couldn't just let you guys go immediately, but with a little bit of time, someone could be trained, you could train somebody to kind of do what y'all are doing for us?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's how any project like this eventually ends, right? It's not a hard stop where it's over, that it's that we start saying, hey, we're getting to the end of this, we need to start transitioning this over to you guys at the city to work this out. And obviously we're willing and will do that when we get to that stage. It's like an ongoing discussion. I don't know when that would be for you guys, when you'll feel that you're comfortable with taking it back over.
Well, I'm gonna depend on you to kind of tell us, look, we're getting kind of close to the end, and I think now's a good time for us to train somebody. It's gonna take us 30 days of our contract period to maybe train somebody, so that in case we need to do that or wanna do that, you know?
Right.
I mean, and I understand that your level of expertise has been appreciated. We appreciate that, and we know that you guys have done us a great job. But at the same time, if it gets down to the very end and things become a lot easier, then I would like for us to consider, doing it in-house. But I would like to know that before that last day.
Yeah.
You follow where I'm going with all this?
Yep, I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, my goal is always to try to, personally, transition it off. Like, I don't want to be charging you guys, I wanna be at the end of this so that we can hand it off to you and say, all right, you feel comfortable with where we're at. So
Yeah.
I'll definitely be,
Okay.
trying to get that to you.
All right, thank you, Ryan.
That's all I got. That's all I got.
Okay. Do we ever take a vote?
No, motion.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Mayor Kathy?
Yes.
Ms. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Key?
Yes.
Mr. Pollock?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
No.
All right, next is resolution 2109. Do I have a motion to read the title only?
Motion to read resolution 21-09 by title only.
Second.
And a second, please read, Lynn.
A resolution of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, approving change order number 1 to the city's agreement with Bonavik Construction, Inc. for the sidewalk repair project, resulting in a decrease in contract price in the amount of $31,690.76.
Is there a question? Or any explanation? We just didn't do as much, or?
Again, the city typically has a 10% contingency built into all of its contracts. When it's a building, you tend to tap into it, but when it's something more simple like landscape and sidewalks, we tend not to tap into it. And as it turned out, there was a little less lineal footage than what was necessary, so we were actually able to save, I think it was $3,000 and then take out the contingency. So this is a benefit to the cities. This was one of those projects that came in higher than the DDD allotment, so the city was gonna be coming out of pocket $31,000, so this helps us.
Is there a motion to adopt?
Make a motion to adopt resolution 2109.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mayor Kathy?
Yes.
Ms. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Key?
Yes.
Mr. Pollock?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes. All right. Mr. Attorney, do you have anything for us today?
Nothing today, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Mario?
Mayor, I've got a note from Kimberly that says she would like for me to share with the employees the CBB's appreciation of all of the employees, and that she has appreciation gift certificates at her office starting on February the 8th through the 12th. So anytime that the employees have a moment to swing by, she'd love to share some appreciation certificates with them. We appreciate that very much, and I would like to point out that the beach renourishment is really a CVB project, so that project that is underway today, and so far so good, it's been going very well. They're starting to level out the sand a little bit. There was some concern that when you walk to the beach now, you had to go up what looked like a dune in front of the dune. They've got their heavy equipment. They're doing a little bit of leveling here and there. It's a work in progress. They hope to be done by next weekend. And if they don't get done by next weekend, then they'll have to start monitoring for shorebirds and things like that. That project is underway. As mentioned, the Welcome Center is doing fairly well on construction, and the marina's going well. Sidewalks are done, hydrants are done. If the next project that we're still waiting on some FEMA response on is the asphalt work that we hope to kick off here shortly. So we've got that one coming. We do have drawings for Sunset Park at the conference room. We do have drawings for the jetty, and we do have drawings for the pier that are all available for review. Keeping in mind that they're all still works in progress. The jetty is extending the existing jetty just a little bit, but putting a 300-foot long jetty on the east side that will equal out to what we have on the west side that will protect us. Again, all of those dollars are going out to FEMA to make sure that FEMA's okay with those dollars. If FEMA says that we're consistent with what they thought, then we'll do the full-fledged design, put it out to bid, and do those projects. So, just like we mentioned on the dredge, now that we've got confirmation on the 23,000 cubic yards, then we design towards the 23,000 cubic yards, we'll put it out to bid. So we still have some pretty major projects out there between police, fire, civic center, jetty, pier, all those. And then we've got a whole other tranche of monies, which is master stormwater projects and other things that we're dealing with LMS. And there's an LMS meeting, I think it's tomorrow. Hold on one second. Yeah, there's an LMS meeting from 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock at Gulf Coast State College at their third floor. So again, it's just another tranche of money that the city continues to go after. Adkins is also helping us with those projects.
All right. On the beach renourishment, is the field in between the dunes at the walkway, is that a wash?
That has been tabled, basically because we couldn't get the timeline and we didn't have the permits in hand. I've got to get those permits and a new timeline together, so we'll have to push some additional information over to FEMA, and it might be 6 months before we can do that project now, just because of the permitting side of it. So we might be able to, again, get it outside of the turtle and bird season and just do it during the next cycle.
Are we gonna talk about that prior to going ahead with that?
If y'all don't want us to do it, then we can save an awful lot of work by not doing it.
Well-
But if we do, then,
We got all the boardwalks that are going right through it, and so.
you know, this will not happen where there are boardwalks.
So you're just talking about where they're putting it down to roughly 13th Street now, roughly?
I would say wherever it stops right now, going to the west is mainly what would be left.
Okay. And I thought we had,
The drawings were incorrect. Let me start off by saying that, I think the mayor mentioned, why do they have clouds in the area over there where the dedicated beach is?
right.
And we should not have had anything over there. You noticed on my cheat sheet last time that I had 30 locations at $70,000 and 2,000 apiece. I was using that as my gauge of, okay, we will only end up having 15, 16, or 17 of these. So within those 17 and 2,000 apiece, that was what I would have been approving if we had moved that forward, but we did not move that forward.
Okay.
Okay, anything else?
Yes.
Council comments? Sharon, do you have anything?
I'm good, Al.
Darryl? I'm good. Bobby?
Don't have
Eric?
anything.
Have two. Mara, what happened to the, St. Joe? Did you reach out to St. Joe about them tapping our line, that water line?
I have, and they've been slow to respond. I know that they're busy working their margarita thing, and I'll reach back out to Bridget. I've got 2 emails and 2 phone calls into her, and she's been.
And we can leave what we have then.
Yes, that was part of the reason for doing what we had, was we really didn't know the timeline. I do know that they're, even if they wanted to kick off that project today, they don't have all the permits. They're still in the permitting process. I don't know that it'll be too much longer before.
I mean, we can leave our pipe where it is.
For a while.
For a while,
Yes.
okay. Only other thing I have is, there is a volunteer group putting back together the TV shows that we, not from TV, the shows that will be on social media about Mexico Beach, where they get updates from the city, they talk to interesting people in town, and, I think it's something that everyone will be very glad to see them try to bring that back to life. They're working on it, so I hope that works out for them.
I do have one thing.
All right, we'll come back to you.
I have not been, the professor or whoever it is has not been in contact with me. I called, left a couple of messages, but I guess, is that still happening there?
The estuary program,
Yeah,
you didn't,
he's never and I've called him 2 or 3 times, left messages.
really? Assistant Dean, I forget his name, I've
Yeah,
talked to
yeah.
him several times.
Yeah, he's got a professor name.
Yeah, I don't know,
Okay.
I'll look through their request for us to get someone, and I'll email them and give them your contact
Okay.
information.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
okay. Motion for adjournment? Thank you all.